We're telling stories. We didn't start yet. Monason, he told first the story, the story of his father. And you remember the story, if you didn't, it's worth listening to. How his father, the big Gvir, born into wealth, big chassid of the Mittel Rebbe, but it was by a Fabrenyan once with the Melamed, the Michal, that turned his life around. So now this is the story that Rabbi Menachem Monenson was a chassid of the Rebbe Marash and of the Rebbe Rashad. So this story, he related himself to the Frierdiker Rebbe. And you might be a little bit surprised, but this was talking friends Deira Hamishi, the fifth generation, different than Deira Shvi, as you'll hear in a moment. So, says Rabbi Menachem, I was once by, this is the Rebbe Marash, in Yechidus. At that time, the situation financially was difficult. I'm sorry. The whole situation at home. Shalom Bayis, problems in Shalom Bayis, problems in health, my wife, the children, were not bishleimus. So not financial. This is pushed in the house. So I wrote a pan and I gave it, we're talking the fourth generation now. Fourth generation of Chabad Hasidus. So I wrote a pan and I gave to the Rebbe Marash, and he benched me. He benched my wife and my children with a bracha, a very elaborate and explicit bracha. And he said, you and your wife and children should be healthy physically, b'nafshechem, and you should have shalom bayis. A very explicit response to his needs. So I said, Amen, Kein Yemer Hashem. May God also so say. And I felt my heart, the load lifted off my heart. He goes on to tell the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rabbi Menachem, whenever I would come to Lubavitch, I wasn't in a hurry to go back home. And I would stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This time I stayed in Lubavitch close to a month, 4 weeks. On the Wednesday before Shabbos, the last Shabbos that I was staying in Lubavitch, today's Wednesday, yeah. So the Pinchas Leib, the Meshoris, the Rabbi, approaches me. He was the Meshoris, he was like the attendant. But he came to me in the Shlichus of Rabbi Leivik, who was a more closer attendant, Rabbi, Maskir, of the Rebbe Marash, and with the instruction to come right away into the small zal. Okay? I still hadn't finished my breakfast, but I went. Now, Rabbi Leivik wasn't in the zal because the message came from him. I found him in his office, in his room, which is right near to the door of the Rebbe. And Rabbi Leivik is writing letters. So Rabbi Leivik said to me, good, you came to me here in my office and you didn't wait for me in the small zal. So I have something to tell you. And no one should hear this. The Rebbe said that today you should go in. And if other orchim would see that you're going again, a second time, this week, where people are still waiting for more than a week, they would stone me. So now, I'm telling you this now in my room, wait here a moment, and I'll tell the Rebbe you're here, and I'm sure he's going to say, go in now. Rabbi Menachem continues telling the Frierdiker Rebbe, the truth is, the day I came, from the first time I came to Lubavitch, I never went into the Rebbe without achana. The day I went into the Rebbe was a day of avodah, according to my level. And I didn't want to change my custom. He said, to desecrate it. I said to Rabbi Leivik, maybe tell the Rebbe that if I have to go in now, I'll go in. But if not, could I go in tomorrow? I need to prepare. For my whole life, I never would go into the Rebbe without a hachana. Okay, Rabbi Leivik goes into the Rebbe Marash and says, Rebbe Marash said, no, it's not urgent. You can come tomorrow. And Rabbi Leivik tells him, Rebbe Marash said this with a smile over his holy countenance, and he added, Chassidic education is glove. That's where it came from. is accompanied with deeply rooted and healthy hergeshim. So the Rebbe Marash was happy that Moishe was saying, could I come in tomorrow after Achon? Again, Francis says, Deira Revi. A little bit further, we'll continue tomorrow. When I went back home, he says, to the place where I was staying, my Chsanya in Lubavitch. I started to think, why is the Rebbe calling me? And I thought to myself, for sure, it's about something Ruchnius. By the Rabbi, and even Gashmish is Ruchnius. And even their words is Ruchnius. His word is considered an action, so too, their words, physical words, are Ruchnius. So for the 3 weeks that I was in Lubavitch, I heard from the Rebbe 3 Maimorim, and I wrote them down myself. I copied them from the Ksav of Rabbi Shmuel HaSofer, wrote the Rebbe Marash's Maimorim. So now I had the manuscript, and I sat down and I learned them slowly. I should absorb very well what's written there. This is beautiful. He adds, he tells the Frierdiker Rebbe, as I'm learning the Maimer, I remembered every tnuah, every movement that the Rebbe said when he said the Maimer. Rebbe's face, hands movement. And I formed and I engraved in my thought, his holy countenance. That's what I did that day. The next morning, I did the Achona before davening, and at 2:00 in the afternoon, I came and stood. So this is almost more than 24 hours. I came and stood waiting to be called into Yechidus. Tomorrow, friends, I'm going to tell you what happened in that Yechidus. Be'ezer Hashem.